Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Joined as always, I'm talking about the mechanic, Brandon Catino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Wednesday, man. Time to talk some fights.
Man, you were all clear until we got to the intro, and then you kind of went off mic for a second, and then it got a little blurry on it. But I think you're good now. A couple quick things before we do talk about all those fights. It's kind of like that midpoint of the year, right? We got, we're switching over to the next half of the year. So we're kind of, as far as fights go, ending with a little bit of fizzle. There's no big fights coming up. We're really only talking about the good fights from last week. And then we're looking forward to the bang coming up next week and then further on. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about in the rant today. The rant, we're not that angry this week. We're actually looking back, talking about some of the best fights of the year so far, some good moments. And then we're looking forward to some fights that we're looking forward to over the next few months. We won't go any further than that because we already see the schedule kind of jumping all over the place. So we'll only go a few months in advance and a couple moments that we're looking forward to as well. Of course, we're going to break down PFL 6, the rise of the continued rise of Kayla Harrison, much to Brandon's chagrin. And then also, unfortunately, the downfall coming of Showtime Anthony Pettis. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new interim champion in Bellator. You don't know who it is. Stay tuned. We'll tell you. And then we'll break down a UFC Vegas 30. Ciryl Gane did what he was supposed to do, and he got rewarded for it. So we'll talk about all that coming up. But first, we got to take care of some business. If you haven't heard, Art of MMA is now brought to you by Fighters First. You can see the logo up in the top corner. Basically, what we did is we took our network, we converted it to a more global network, a combat sports network, and we included some great new shows. Sorry to scratch my face, people, but my nose was itchy. We are human. But we took Fighters First. We exploded it. We're basically adding new shows to it. We're starting off with Cage My IQ. We announced that last week. You can now find that on the network. So basically, same YouTube channel that you keep watching us on, you'll be seeing a lot more action, not just MMA, though MMA is core to what we do. It is our heart. We also are expanding. So we're talking about adding some professional wrestling, some boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, which is near and dear to, of course, Brandon's heart. So we're talking about doing some other stuff, maybe an international MMA show. We're talking about all that. So definitely stay tuned over the next couple of weeks. And the core of everything, right? The core of everything we do, Brandon. This is how we get paid. This is how we make money. We're not going to lie to you. FightersFirst.shop. The website is live. We launched it a couple days early. You can take a look at it right now. FightersFirst.shop. Of course, the main collection. Some trending stuff. We got the Cage My IQ collection now active on there, so you can go on there, shop Dan and them shirts. They got some dope merchandise. Of course, the legendary. We have all of our collections right up top, easy to access. You can scroll down. You can get all of our latest videos. You see a couple of Cage My IQ's latest videos. You see our videos from the last few episodes. Starting tomorrow, Dan's posting some of his interviews. He's got one coming up with strawweight Amir Khan, UFC vet Danny Chavez next week, so some stuff to take a look at for that. And then, of course, all the latest, including what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Of course, you know that we run a promo code every week, Brandon. Well, those promo codes are now switching over to FightersFirst.shop, starting off with the new Muhammad Ali shirt. Like I said, combat sports, use the promo code Grand Opening, save 15% this week and probably next week as well. Keep it going for a little bit. Get the Muhammad Ali shirt, get anything else in the shop, site-wide, 15% off any and everything in the shop. So definitely a good start to the site. Looking forward to all of you enjoying everything. Give us some feedback. The links will be in the show notes. But like I said, promo code this week is Grand Opening, save 15%. And, of course, I'm rocking the Bruce Lee shirt. Brandon as well. He copied me. He didn't know, but we're twins today. It's cool. Different color, though, so it's all right. One cool thing I forgot to mention, Brandon, is not only do we have the canvas shirts in the shop, I added a vintage style for every single shirt that we do, plus a couple new ones. So that means you got the same great quality that we do in the canvas shirt for a few dollars cheaper. For a few dollars more, you can upgrade to the vintage one, which is a more vintage 50-50 type shirt, more premium quality. Both the premium quality, but a little more expensive quality is probably what I should say, and get that shirt in the shop as well. All right, Brandon, you ready to hop into this rant?
Let's do it, man.
All right. Brandon's been looking forward to this all week. This was actually his idea. I wasn't really sure what we wanted to talk about this week because, man, how do I, of all people, not be angry about something? I don't get it. Anyway. All right, but we are pretty excited about a couple things. It's been a really action-packed first half of the year. We've had UFC running since pretty much like the second week of the year, all the way through. We've had one on TNT, so they had like 4 cards on there. They've had some other events. PFL's opened up their 2021 season, had some pretty exciting fights. Obviously, Bellator's been trucking along as well with some exciting stuff. They've been doing not just finishing off the featherweight Grand Prix, but then they're also launched the light heavyweight Grand Prix. So there's been a lot going on in MMA, some great regional action as well. Of course, we talk about Cage Fury all the time. Some great stuff going on. So how do you pick some of the best fights of the year? And of course, it's always going to be a personal opinion. I think the UFC is always going to be kind of top heavy because they get most of the marquee. But I know Brandon has one fight he's looking forward to that's not UFC. I know my fights actually are UFC just because that's actually what I watched a lot more of this year. So we'll see what Brandon comes up with. We'll see what I come up with. I'm going to let Brandon start. Brandon, to date, what has been maybe not even the best fight of the year? What has been your favorite fight of this year so far for 2021?
Man, that was like changing that. To me, man, my favorite fight actually that I watched, not my contender for fight of the year, but my favorite fight, like my moment, is actually Francis Ngannou winning that heavyweight championship. I think that fight was great because I think you saw his wrestling defense come, show to the people, and also too just the moment, just his story and everything. I think that just made that such a big moment.
Oh, no doubt, especially after he lost the first time. Most people were 50-50 whether, because they know he's turned into a machine, like he's just destroying people. But Stipe figured him out the first time. I was one of the people who thought Stipe would figure him out again. And Ngannou did it. He adjusted. His game has gotten just a million times better. Of course, when we start talking about what we're looking forward to for the rest of the year, it's a very weird situation with Ngannou, Lewis, now gone, John Jones. So many crazy things. We don't want to ruin the rest of the show, but that is something. And since you said they were different, what is your fight of the year so far?
My fight of the year so far, man, I got to support my boy, man, Shane Burgos, Edson Barboza. I think that was a banger, man. Just 2 guys standing in there trading, going back and forth. Shane didn't get the victory, but it was still just one hell of a crazy fight.
Crazy fight, and it could also be one of your moments, too, because the way Shane got knocked out was something many people haven't seen. Actually just saw something similar to it. Was it last week or the week before, where somebody got hit and then they kind of like fell against the cage and went out. Not quite the same, but it was kind of similar. Sometimes your brain just takes a second to register. We're finding out more and more from that Shane Burgos situation. And of course, Shane's fine. Shane's great. He's passed all the medical tests, so nothing's wrong with Shane. It's just one of those things where he got knocked out and his body didn't know yet. And then, unfortunately. As far as my fight of the year, I'm going to go with another one of Brandon's teammates. My fight of the year just happens to be Jimmy Rivera versus Pedro Munhoz 2, the second one on the undercard of Rosenstruck Gane back in February. That fight caught me from the very beginning. You can sit there and look at highlights of that fight, and unfortunately, fans, I'm sorry we can't show you. UFC will shut us down real quick. But you can look at highlights of that fight. Any bit you jump into that fight, whether you jump on ESPN Plus and watch it today. I watched a little bit of it earlier just to refresh myself. There's action. There's action no matter where you're going in that fight. They're not taking each other down. They are sitting there literally just throwing blows at each other the whole time. Of course, Pedro Munhoz did get the upper hand this time. He lost the first time to Jimmy. Came back, got the win this time. I thought it was a little closer than the judges had it. Like one judge had it 30-27. I was like, there's no way. But both guys went to war. Of course, they're both very friendly afterwards because they know they have the utmost respect for each other, which is what MMA is really all about. You go to war, shake hands, hug afterwards, and call it a day. One of my favorite moments, though, much like you said in Ngannou, one of my favorite moments is, and I hate to say this because I love Frankie Edgar. He's one of my favorite fighters. But, man, when Sandhagen put Frankie Edgar to sleep, that flying knee, that is like imprinted as a highlight in my mind forever. Like that put Sandhagen on the map. Like from now on, he's a contender. Like what happens with TJ Dillashaw? If that fight actually happens, if he keeps getting pushed back, Hopefully it really does happen this time coming up soon. That's great. But that fight with Frankie put him on the map. So that's one of my things. What other moments kind of stand out to you for this year so far, Brandon?
I think the violence, man, I really want to say two, and they're all from the same guy. Usman, his last 2 title defenses. What he did with Burns, yeah. But I mean, what he did with Burns was just the jab. His jab put Burns out. Again, like you haven't seen somebody really use a jab like that since like Anderson Silva when he did that to Forrest Griffin, which is probably really my favorite fight of all time to watch. Just how.
By the way, not to interrupt you real quick. Funniest thing I saw today, Chris Lieben posted a picture of or ESPN I guess posted it of when Lieben Anderson Silva debuted against Chris Lieben, and Chris Lieben said, "Hey, I was supposed to be fighting some spider, and they slipped in a goat."
Yep.
Speaking of Anderson Silva. Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought it was a funny story.
Man, it's all good. Hey, man, Anderson Silva's always good in my book. But yeah, but just what he did to Burns, and then boom, then his next fight against Masvidal, and how he just straight put him out. Like I think those two were definitely two more of my moments so far this year.
Yeah, I kind of would piggyback on that. One moment I have to say, I mean, it was a good fight for like a round or two. But we're going into Poirier McGregor 3. But the hype around Poirier McGregor 2 in the beginning of the year was intense. McGregor had a lot of moments in the first round. Poirier, of course, in the second round, poured it on and put him away. And I'm not really sure what to expect out of the third one. So that definitely built the hype up for the next fight. Of course, you talked about Ngannou winning finally and taking over the heavyweight crown. That was definitely something for me. And, of course, everybody thinks about it as one of the fights of the year so far. We wanted to name a few different fights, but the Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar fight in the beginning of the year on ABC really stamped as Max is back. No question about it. Whatever troubles he was having with either whether it was concussions or whatever medical situation he was going through seems to be a thing of the past. He just cruised by Calvin Kattar for 5 rounds. Kattar had a couple moments, but it was really like just a showcase for Max Holloway of how good he can be when he's on his game. Which really leads us into some of the stuff going on in the rest of the year. Any other fights you want to point out before we move on to the next part?
No, man, I'm good.
All right, cool. So that kind of leads us into what we're going to the next part of the year, and I'll actually start with this one. One of the fights I'm really looking forward to, I haven't really been enjoying too much of the tough season so far. I've watched a little bit of it. Just really hasn't kind of called out to me. It looks like they're kind of forcing it. Like Ortega's just basically been like slacking, showing up when he wants to. Volkanovski's kind of like almost like militant. Like he's like, got to be here on time. You got to do this, got to do that. And I don't know if it's one of those things where Ortega's playing mind games or he just doesn't feel like showing up. And I don't know one of those things if Volkanovski's just overreacting. Of course, the cameras aren't really going to show you like how late Ortega really was or stuff like that. So I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to them getting in the cage. Ortega looked fantastic against the Zombie last time, Korean Zombie. And then, of course, Volkanovski looked really good against Max 2 times in a row. I thought he actually lost the second fight, but he looked good enough, obviously, to get the judge's win. So he's, got another challenger for the first time. I'm looking forward to that. What's a fight you're really looking forward to?
Well, I mean, when we were really talking about this, I was telling you how, man, if you want to do top 5, I got 5 fights that I'm really looking forward to. But then you were talking about maybe 3 or so. But I got 5 if you want to know my top 5. But if you want to know my number 1, my number 1 is the fight that I've been talking about for forever since this whole thing started with the whole Bellator Grand Prix for featherweights. It's AJ McKee versus Pitbull. I've been waiting for this fight. It's finally going to happen next month, July 31st. I'm going to be glued. I'm going to be ready to watch that. Speaking
of featherweights, right? Yeah, no, I didn't want to step on your toes. I knew that's what you were going to pick.
Hey man, no, you can pick it too. Like I said, man, this is just our fights that we're all looking forward to. Because I know one fight that you're looking forward to that you told me, that fight is actually on my top 5, but it's not as high as it is for you.
Yeah, I mean, so also I want to point out I am very much looking forward to McGregor Poirier 3. It just happens to be like in a week and a half, and I feel like that's too like we're talking about something a little bit further out. So it's a little bit different. But I also kind of think there's moments too, right? Like there's fights that are obviously coming up, but one of the moments I'm looking forward to, and I've been almost getting hyped. Like I don't really get hyped by people's comeback videos, but the way Miesha Tate's been putting together some of her like video edits I'm actually really looking forward to her versus Renault in that comeback fight on July 17th. What does Misha have left? It's been a while out of the cage. She had a couple kids. God bless her. She's raising her family. But she got the itch again. She wanted to come back. There's no Ronda Rousey in her way. She doesn't have any kind of misconceived notions of hopping right in there with Amanda. She says it's a possibility down the road if she can get a few wins and get going. But she wants to start off. She wants to build herself up. She's got a very tough opponent who, ironically, is on her way out of the cage. This is Marion Renault's last fight. So I'm looking forward to that moment. What about you? What's some other fights? You said you had 5. What's a couple
I got
others?
5. Like I said, you mentioned the Conor McGregor-Poirier fight. That's actually number 4 on my list. Number 2 on my list is actually a fight that you actually just that you talked about earlier, which was the Sandhagen-Dillashaw fight. I'm really looking forward to that. Like you said, with what Sandhagen had did to Frankie Edgar, that put him on the map. And then it's saying TJ's coming back. You don't know what TJ has to offer, so you kind of look forward to seeing how that fight goes. Another fight, like I said, I guess we'll go ahead. So my third fight is actually, me, king of the lady fights. My third fight is actually my girl Denise Kiehholtz. She's fighting for the Bellator flyweight title July 16th.
What, no Nunez Pena?
Dude, that's
oh wait,
you,
is that
man.
number 1? Did I spoil it?
No, stop it. But like I said, man, I'm down to really see what Kiehholtz been. I'm trying to see what Kiehholtz can do. Against the champion. Like I said, this person, she beat McFarlane. So I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be no easy task. But I'm looking forward to it. So that's my third fight, and then like I said, the fourth I already said was McGregor and Poirier. But my fifth fight that I'm really looking forward to this year, that I don't know if a lot of people really talk about, but it's the Rumble Johnson fight, for the next heavyweight Grand Prix. Because why? He's fighting the champ. Like I said, Johnson, Johnson, he didn't look so good his last fight, but that's because again he was coming off a layoff. He had a different opponent, and then of course the champ is the champ. Nemkov, man, he's good. Let's see if he can handle that power from a Rumble and go from there.
I'll tell you a couple sleeper fights people might not know even are existing. For one, August 21st, Cannonier versus Gastelum. It was supposed to be Costa, obviously, but I'm actually more excited to see Gastelum in there. He looked great against who did he fight in the beginning of the year?
Whitaker.
No, before that.
I'm sorry.
When he got all those takedowns. Why can't I think of it right now?
Was it Hermanson? No, he fight Hermanson? No.
Heinrich. Ian Heinrich, yeah. He looked great against them. And then he was outclassed against Whitaker, but he brought it for 5 rounds. And Whitaker even said it was one of the toughest fights he had. Cannonier would be interesting to see how he bounces back. He just, he kind of lost his momentum for a little while. But we'll see. He lost to Whitaker too. So both guys coming off, good runs, and then they fought Whitaker and lost. I'm looking forward to hopefully later this year. They haven't announced a date, but I'm looking forward to Whitaker versus Izzy. Like that, I want to see that rematch. Some people think it'll go exactly the same. I think Whitaker's adjusted. I think Izzy showed different things, and maybe Whitaker can jump on some of those things. Maybe Izzy's closed up those holes like he did against Vettori, and there are no holes. So you learn a lot from your losses. Brandon's in the gym every day with some of these kids, some of these top fighters. You learn a lot from your losses. Like more than you learn from your wins, you learn from your losses. So I'm looking forward to that one. And of course, it was just announced. We'll talk about it later, but I'm looking forward to Gane versus Lewis for the interim heavyweight title, August 7th. So we don't really know 100% what's up with the Gane. That his camp seemed to be caught off guard by everything, but we'll see. I think there's 2 sides to every story. I think part of it is Ngannou wants to wait for Jones. I think that's the fight he cares about. I don't think he cares about the Derek Lewis fight. I don't think he cares about Ciryl Gane. I don't know. What do you think? You're shaking your head over there. Go ahead.
No, I'm just waiting to when we get into it, man. I have a good amount to say about this whole situation.
All right, cool. We'll talk about it after we talk about the Ciryl Gane fight later. But there's a lot. There's a lot of layers to that one. And I actually, funny enough, if you watched the last episode of Cage My IQ, I was in the comments for the live stream, and especially towards the end, because I wanted to make sure that Dan promoted the new network. But also, they were talking about the Ciryl Gane Volkov fight, And I mentioned, like, I think Lewis is going to knock Gane out the way he's fought the last couple fights. And they both picked that apart by basically him and his co-host Miles by basically talking about Gane's different skill sets. So we'll talk about all that later. Any other highlights you're looking forward to this year before we move on?
I mean, besides my top 5 fights, I mean, hopefully hopefully we can get that Zingano Cyborg fight. I'd be down to watch that, of course. And then you know what? Another fight. I mean, I probably would say would be an honorable mention.
I got
but
one.
I'm down to see the Tisha Torres versus Angela Hill fight.
That's gonna be fun. But I was also looking forward to, even though it got pushed back to like September right now, I think, or maybe October. Glover versus Jan.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a slugfest. I don't think either guy's going to drop. I think they're just going to go at it for 5 rounds, and it's going to just be a massacre. And I don't know who's going to win. I think it's great. I don't know. That's just like the fight fan in me. Like, forget the expertise, forget all the stuff. And both guys are very high skilled, but I'm just looking forward to that one. So I think they're going to go to war for 5 rounds. So a couple things I want to also mention real quick before we take off. Oh, and one more. I don't know why they told us. Moments of the year. Charles Oliveira finally getting that lightweight strap against Michael Chandler. Only a 2-round fight, but in the 2 rounds, it was completely explosive. It was a great fight for 2 rounds. Chandler almost had Oliveira out. Oliveira came back, put Chandler out. Funny enough, what Tim Wheaton, who's always on the show, said, that check left hook caught Chandler clean. So shout out to Tim for that one. Make sure you watch Calf Kick Sports as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to some results. Let's start off PFL 6. I almost did it again, just like I did last week. PFL 6, the Kayla Harrison show, if you want. Definitely something to make Brandon like kind of cringe a little bit. But she wasn't alone. Of course, we're also talking about the downfall of Anthony Pettis as well. It's unfortunate, but I think Anthony Pettis is kind of falling off the mountaintop a little bit. We'll talk about all that. Let's go ahead and jump into the main event. You were very high on Cindy Dandois. Sorry. Picks-wise, I fell further down. Brandon and Dan went further up. I don't want to talk about it, but if you check the show notes, all the updated picks are right there, including the King of the Mountain over there.
Yes, sir.
Dan has better pick percentage than him. I'm just trying to humble him a little bit. But as far as host, lead dog over there.
That's it. You know what's up. You know what's up.
I want to get that same treatment when I get my crown back. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Well, no, unfortunately, I can't get it back this week. There ain't no fights. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about PFL 6 before everybody tunes out or at least skips ahead in the chapters. Kayla Harrison versus Cindy Dandois. I know you were high on Cindy's chances, but we told you, Brandon, it was going to be a massacre. You don't match skill sets with a skill. Like if Cindy had a different skill set, right? If she was like maybe even Clarissa Shields, where she has a puncher's chance, but she has the same skill set as Kayla, who's a 2-time Olympic medalist, gold medalist. That just wasn't a good matchup. It went really bad for her. I think Cindy might have broke her arm or at least dislocated something. I hate to do this to you, man, but break down that fight for me.
Nah, man, as I was watching that fight, there's it happens in a lot of fights. It's like there's opportunities for you to change the fight. And it was where Cindy was on the ground, Kayla was standing up. And at that time, I'm like, get up, because she was giving her the space to get up. But she didn't. She decided to stay on her back. And that's when Kayla was like, okay, fine, you're going to stay there, then I'm going to keep you there. And then boom, once she got on top, she got out, got the side mount, and then, got her mount, went for her armbar submission. It was on. Luckily, though, Cindy is fine. I follow her, of course, on the gram. Like she's not wearing a sling or anything anymore like that, so she's moving around fine and everything like that. So, I mean, it might have been just for that moment. But, hey, man, Kayla Harrison, like she said, she went out. She had to do her thing. She's trying to repeat again as a 3rd champion. We'll see what happens.
One other missed moment when she actually flipped Kayla over, and then Kayla flipped her right back.
Yep.
Like she had a chance to get control, but she didn't have good position, and Kayla was able to roll all the way through it. So for like the briefest of moments, Cindy was on top, and Kayla just kept rolling with it, and Cindy like lost it in like quickly. I don't want Snap to mess up the microphone. I can snap. I'm not one of those people. I can snap, but don't want to do it and like click on your loud, like right in your ear in the microphone. So yeah, we look forward to, of course, we're talking about lower in the card. We saw another knockout victory for Larissa Bachenko. So that's the next matchup the finals matchup that we're all looking forward to once they start the playoffs. Bachenko actually was kind of rocked early too, but she came back and got that knockout in the same round. So we can talk about that in a little bit, but let's go ahead, jump into the co-main event. There's so much to be said about Anthony Pettis versus Manfio. And I'll go ahead and start with this one. I said a lot on Twitter, and I want to point this out because Brandon loves to think I hate older fighters. First of all, I don't think Anthony Pettis is old. He's 34 years old. Fight terms, he's not that old. He has a couple more years definitely left to prime Anthony Pettis, especially today's, fitness and the way fighters are taking care of themselves. Look at this guy right over here. Look at the video he posted of him wrestling. Look at the kind of shape this guy's in. There, you can still be in your prime at 34, 35, 36 years old. But Anthony Pettis has clearly slowed down. And Manfio was able to wait in the middle for him. So when Anthony Pettis does what he does, which is kind of attack you from weird angles, try to like catch you off guard, Showtime kicks, stuff like that, because he catches you when you're not paying attention. He's here, but then he's here. But wait, he's right in front of you. And you just don't really know because he hits you in all kinds of unorthodox angles. That was Anthony Pettis in his 20s. Anthony Pettis, who's also bounced between 145 all the way up to 170 for his last few fights in the UFC, I don't think has that quickness advantage that he used to at 155. I think he's slowed down just a little bit. Not a lot, but definitely enough to where his style needs to adjust. Manfio was able to wait in that center, and every time they exchanged toe-to-toe, Manfio got confidence as that fight was going on. I will say this right now. I think Anthony Pettis won that fight. I had him 2-1, 29-28. Judges had it the other way in a split decision. I don't argue with the split decision because I think that third round was so dominant for Manfio. I think Anthony Pettis is lucky he didn't get put to sleep, especially after he got caught with that knee while he was trying to push Manfio off of him. He put his head down, and Manfio threw the perfect time knee. Anthony Pettis is very lucky he didn't get put out by that. So, but my point is this: that Anthony Pettis needs to grow. Brandon told me offline, evolve. He hasn't evolved. He's the same fast, flashy style fighter, and it works for him a lot of times. Has not worked for him in PFL. Clay Collard came straight for him. Manfio stood right in front of him, didn't go for any of the feints. And neither one really got scared of his power. Now, Anthony Pettis was the more technical fighter the first 2 rounds of this fight. He had moments against Clay Collard. But you want to be the face of PFL fighting like this? I'm not saying Anthony Pettis is done, but I am saying Anthony Pettis needs to adjust. Brandon, what do you think of the whole situation?
I too thought that Anthony Pettis did win the fight. I gave him the first and second round, but like I said, we're not judges. But yeah, like I was telling you before, to me is that I feel like Anthony Pettis has stayed the same ever since he was in the WEC to now. He's the same guy. Where to me, the game has evolved. Fighters have caught up. Fighters now train differently. They fight smarter. They know better now. And the things like he hasn't done anything to change himself up. I mean, I want to say that he did try to. I think that's why he was going to different weight classes. He was like, all right, 155 isn't working. Let's go to 145. I can't make 145. Okay, let's try 170. And he just wasn't still having the same success that he wanted. Like I said, I mean, he was losing against Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson, and then he caught him with that Superman punch. But after that, he was done at 170. And that's when he went back to 155. And even now, like I said, when you got somebody like Clay Collard, who has sex in the boxing world. So it means to say he knows striking. So he's not gonna really fall for everything that Anthony Pettis does to people who don't know about feints, slips, movements, everything like that. So that's my thing. My thing is that he just needs to change up his game. I mean, a lot of fighters do that. Like say you look at
Manfio's a striker. Manfio, like it's either knockout or decision. He's never been stopped. He stands right in front of you.
Yeah, I'm saying you look at somebody like a Kamaru Usman. He changed his game up by leaving Sanford MMA. Now he's hanging out with Trevor Whitman, he's getting the striking up. He's a different guy. Like he even says, he's always evolving. You even look at Tyron Woodley. He was at AT&T, then he went to Duke Rufus. Became champ, changed up his game a little bit too, and until now, people they caught on to him as well. So sometimes like I say, you need that. You need to change. You need to evolve. You need to be different. And that's what I think. I think the game had just caught up with Anthony Pettis. I think he just goes back, hangs out with his coaches. They figure out something new. He can have a better 2022.
I would say one thing, you talk about this before too. Sometimes you got to mix things up. Like you talked about Usman. Usman's still working with Sanford, obviously. He had that situation where him and Burns both trained together, so he went off to train with Trevor Whitman, and he's going back and forth now. I don't think that would hurt Anthony Pettis. Like, he's obviously loyal to Rufus Sport, but maybe go train with a couple different camps. Maybe see a couple different styles. Maybe see a couple different philosophies on fighting. It could only add to what he does,
Yeah, I think he did that. I can't remember if it was Jackson Wink he went to, or he could have went with somebody in Vegas. And I just remember I think they just weren't meshing. I think that's why he didn't do it.
He's so set in his ways.
Yeah.
He's like the man over at Rufus Sport. Like him and now his brother, obviously Woodley and Askren are moving on to different things. He's the man. That's his thing. That's his gym, basically. Duke Rufus has said it. Excuse the thunder and lightning in the background if you guys hear that. We're getting a typical middle of the day Florida storm during the month of June. So, but yeah, he needs to change. He needs to adjust because otherwise it's done. And he won a couple fights at 170. It's not like he was a slouch there. He beat Cowboy Cerrone, who's obviously on the downside of his career, but he also beat Alex Morono, who's kind of coming up. And that was at 170. So maybe that's where he needs to go back. Maybe he needs to fight at welterweight because I think 155 fighters are too fast for him. I just don't think he has what that is. In the last few of his career, you see a lot of guys move up in weight. Very few move back down. Cowboy tried to move back down. It didn't work out well for him either. So I'd like to see maybe his last fight at 172 where he's more comfortable. Also on that card, Brandon Sales looked great against the other Usman, Muhammad Usman. Didn't look so great. Got knocked out in the third round against Goltsov. Lance Palmer's done. There is no defending his title. He lost for the second time. We talked about Larissa Pachenko getting that knockout. Go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was going to go back to the Lance Palmer thing. Just one quick thing before we move on. Again, we talk about open scoring and how people always say, they don't like open scoring because people can just sag or anything like that. Dude, Lance Palmer knew he had to get a finish in the first or second round. He did absolutely nothing to try to get a finish at all. He still fought the same way, fought tentative, did nothing to say, hey, I'm trying to stop you, except for maybe the last 15 seconds of a round. That's not going to get the job done. So to me, people who are against open scoring about people sagging it or all this stuff like that is nonsense, man. Fighters are who they are. They can know they're winning. They can know they're down. They'll still be the same person. It's who they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they know the score or not.
I can say the same thing about Anthony Pettis. He knew he needed a finish at some point in that fight, and he didn't get it. He didn't even try. One thing talking about, the ranking system in PFL, Renan Ferreira got screwed because you can argue whether he tapped or didn't tap, but the official judge or official referee at the time gave him the knockout victory. The person that they went back, turned it into a no contest, so they each got 1 point, right? Then Verdum, who's not recovered from that, or for whatever reason, then drops completely out of the season. Ferreira goes out and gets a win. He doesn't get a stoppage. He gets a win. Pretty clean win, too. And now he's completely out of the playoffs, even though he technically won twice. But because of the way they did it, and this is why I said off air with Brandon and even Dan, PFL, if you want to have a season's not 2 matchups. That's not even a series. That's just you fight. You have a fight and a rematch. That's 2 fights. If you want a season, I know the pandemic messed everything up this year, so I'm not coming down too harshly, but you got to have at least 3 fights. At least 3. At least make it a series of fights. Because if Renan Ferreira had a 3rd fight, it would make up for the no contest. But instead, he's outside looking in at some of these other fighters who are now moving on. Of course, talking about a few of them, but And then Jamel Jones, who came out of nowhere, had one fight, got to knockout. Now he's in the
FFC, baby.
Yeah, but he had one fight.
Yep.
And he's in the playoffs because he got
that first round finish. You got those 6 points.
So please, at least next season, I know the season's already pretty much set in stone. Next season, think about 3 or 4 fights. Like start early in the year, work it through. Second half of the year, make the playoffs. Go ahead, Brandon.
I mean, yeah, I think I told you, I want to say that I think they used to do 8. They used to do top 8 instead of 4. But like I said, I think maybe because of the pandemic, everything they went down to 4. Because I remember in the playoffs, they used to have to fight 2 fights in one night. But now they're not doing that. They're only doing 1 fight and boom, that's it. So that's why I think it used to be 8 people, but now it's just 4.
Oh, good. You unfroze. I don't know if I was frozen for you too, but I could hear you just fine, but your video frozen for a second.
Did I lose you?
No, you didn't lose me. I heard you.
I was about to say the same thing just happened with you.
Yeah. I think the video just froze because, like I said, there's a huge storm right here, and I'm recording locally in Tampa. So, but it seems to be fixed right now. It seems to be coming back. And then you got somebody like Bruno Capoloza, who's just dominating their heavyweight. So he's probably going to run through that thing anyway. So it might not even matter. All right, you ready to go over and talk about some Bellator action?
Yes.
All right, Bellator 261, interim heavyweight title on the line. Of course, current champ Ryan Bader over in the Grand Prix doing his thing, so he won't be available for the rest of the year. They matched up Tim Johnson, UFC vet. He's been in Bellator now for a while. He's got quite a few wins under his belt. Against Valentin Moldavsky, trains with Fedor, teammate of Nemkov. I'm stuttering now that we had this stutter in the video. Now I'm stuttering in real life. So good matchup. In the end, it was Moldavsky taking the win, beat the veteran Tim Johnson. He's now the interim title. What you think of that fight?
Hey man, it's like I told you, man. Moldavsky was my pick. I just said that he was gonna be the better fighter, control, do his thing, did whatever he wanted to do, and I can see him really being champ for a long time. Bader maybe could beat him, but I don't know. I have to really think about that. But I could really just see Moldavsky just reigning for a pretty long time in Bellator.
I think Bader would have the speed advantage, and probably the wrestling, but you never know with those Sambo style. They kind of balance each other out a little bit sometimes. But I do think Bader would beat him, at least Bader now, current Bader. A year from now, who knows? Bader's getting up there in age as well. He slowed down a little bit his last couple fights. So, faster Nemkov got him. Maybe the same thing would happen with Valentin. Not really sure. But that'd be a fun fight to watch in the future. One other name I think people should keep an eye on. I don't know what one's hold is on him, but Buller's basically offering his services off to everybody. So who's to say Buller doesn't show up in either UFC or Bellator? That would be a good matchup as well, because I think Buller's size and wrestling and just overall talent would be a good matchup. Also on that card, we both picked it, Liz Carmouche versus Watanabe. Watanabe. I can never say it when it's time to say it. I'm just going to start doing like you did in the beginning of this show. When we first started Art of MMA, you always just say the first names.
Yeah, man. You know who they are.
Exactly. But she knocked out Kana in the first round. Not even the way I saw it going. I thought Liz was going to win because she's a veteran and she's smarter. Not smarter, but she's more experienced. But, man, she came out and just knocked her out. Break that fight down for me. King of the lady fighters.
Like I said, man, she just put those hands on her, man. She got her up against the cage and just did a blitz. It was just like 1-2, 1-2, just right down the middle. Homegirl Watanabe she just went down. She couldn't take anymore. I said, I think she knows that Liz Carmouche was really known for being, a wrestler, powerhouse, holding people down, ground and pound, maybe getting submissions there. But like you said, people are just always evolving. Now you see Liz kind of showing her striking game.
She's looked great the last couple fights. And, she didn't get that nickname Gorilla by accident. She will wrap you up. She wrapped up Ronda Rousey, almost ruined Ronda Rousey's UFC debut because she wrapped her up so tight. And Ronda's just – honestly, the only reason Ronda won that fight was pure willpower because she should have been, tapped out in the beginning when she got that rear naked and stuff on her. And Ronda just refused to quit. whether out of bravery or stupidity. She just refused and then ended up paying off because then she got the armbar. But Liz Carmouche has been around a long time. She's fought up-and-comers left and right, and she's beat most of them. So, Hurricane Team Awesome out there, Alex Soto, Manny, all those people out there. Shout out to them. Of course, Liz Carmouche still doing her thing. And shout out to her. She's still a threat. We talked about up-and-coming Christian Edwards. He got another win. He's still undefeated. One person that I think you should keep an eye on, down on the preliminaries, Corey Samuels. That knockout was nice. I think he's got a nice little future with him. Anything else stand out to you on that card?
I mean, really, just Bellator to me just putting on good fights. Especially watching looking at their prelims and everything. Like say, man, like they have some talent. Like say, a lot of people they sleep on the talent in Bellator until they're like on the main card. They just show up out of nowhere. But it's like if you really watch it, man, you'll see these people coming.
What do you think of that split decision with the Daniel,
Which one?
The Daniel Weichel, Keone Diggs?
I mean,
that scoring was all over the map.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought Weichel had did enough to get the victory.
You're talking about 29-28, 28-29, and then 30-27. It's like two judges were like this close, and the other guy was like, "Nah, he took it. It's cool."
Yeah.
MMA judging, MMA Rant. Check out the rant from a couple weeks ago. We talk all about it. All right, you ready to move on to some UFC action this weekend?
Yes.
Man, if you guys only knew the storm I'm dealing with right now while we're on air. I'm sure you guys can hear. Yeah, I'm sure you guys hear some of it in the background. This is living in Florida, folks. Like Brandon, and all you guys are jealous during the winter. During the summer, we don't go out in the middle of the day, and that's why. All right, let's talk about it. UFC Vegas 30, Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Both of us actually picked Volkov. Dan was the only one to pick Gane. He was right. Gane looked great. Gane did what he was supposed to do. He never really got in trouble against Volkov. Volkov. I was about to say Volkanovski again. He never really got in trouble. He basically handled all the three scorecards. I think one judge gave Volkanovski one round. But other than that, it was 50-45. What you think of that fight?
Man, I thought it was a little bit closer than what the judges said. I think I gave Volkov the first and the fourth round because I just thought
his counters most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, in the first round, I just thought his counters were a little bit better. But it's really what Gane did the opposite of what I said that, or should I say, Gane did what he should have done against Rosenstruck, which is what I said was, man, if he fought the same way with Rosenstruck and be patient, then Volkov isn't going to let him rest. He's going to get on him. But the thing was, like, Gane was more active because I think he knew if he fought the same way, Volkov would have got after him. He would have put those hands on him because Volkov can go 5 rounds. No problem. Like I said, because we're talking about he's been a champion in other organizations. So I think Gane, he did enough. I really don't know what Volkov's plan was because the thing was with him was I felt like he was like how Gane was against Rosenstruck, which he was waiting and he just wanted to do counter strikes and he would only counter with just low kick. So I don't know if his plan was maybe to chop out Gane's legs in the first and second round and maybe come the third, fourth, he would, Gane, he wouldn't have his step anymore and that way he can get on him. But I mean, Gane just kept on moving, went in and out, combinations, he just looked good. He did what he had to do to get the W.
Yeah, I think that's the key point. He did what he had to do. I think the problem when you fight Gane is there's not a lot of tape on him, right? Like he looked good against Junior, got the knockout, but even then it's like questionable. Like hit him in the back of the head. But Junior's also kind of like easy to knock out at this point in his career. You fast forward to the Rosenstruck fight. Neither guy really wanted to engage. It was just Gane doing a little bit more. This fight, they both kind of engaged, but at the same time, we didn't see the Volkov that we saw against Overeem or even Derek Lewis. When he fought Derek Lewis and he was like controlling it for a couple rounds. I don't know if this is a knock on Ciryl Gane or a benefit to Ciryl Gane, is that people talk about his French kickboxing background and his Muay Thai background. But we don't really know. We haven't seen it in the octagon. He's only gotten like 9 fights at this point. And none of them have really showcased what he's capable of, allegedly. And this is the conversation I had with over on Cage My IQ. Fast forward, Gane got the win. Dana's announced that it'll be Gane versus Lewis for the interim heavyweight title. It's what we were talking about earlier, on August 7th. Allegedly, Francis Ngannou is not available in August. Dana wanted to fill out the card. He put it there. Hopefully the winner of that can fight Ngannou later in the year, or Ngannou can do the trilogy with Stipe, or Ngannou can fight John Jones. That's all up in the air. But this fight is happening August 7th. I said, this is what I said. If the Ciryl Gane that fought Rosenstrike and fought Volkov, if he fights that way against Derek Lewis, he's getting put to sleep. And the reason being is if you go back and look at the Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades fight, right? Derek Lewis has evolved. Curtis Blades kept doing the takedowns. He kept doing stuff like that. Derek Lewis is, like, people don't think he has such a high fight IQ. He adjusts. He waited for that shoot. He waited for Curtis Blades to go for that shoot, and he threw the uppercut, perfect timing, and basically put Blades to sleep, hit him with a couple more punches, but he was already out. That's what Derek Lewis does. He did it against Volkov. He waited for his moment in the third round, put Volkov to sleep. Derek Lewis doesn't have to knock you out in the first round. He can. Him and Francis Ngannou have the most power in the division. There's not even a question. Ciryl Gane might be one of the fastest heavyweights in the division. I heard people say that he kind of moves like a featherweight. I think that's a little bit absurd, but he moves very well. My opinion is, and I'll get to you, get your opinion, I think Derek Lewis knocks him out because I haven't seen anything from Ciryl Gane the last couple fights that says he's going to show his wrestling, that he's going to show that he can take Derek Lewis down. And if he stands there and tries to move in and out, kind of catch you at angles, kind of do just enough to get that win like he's done the last couple fights in different ways. Both fights were different, but in different ways. It's what he did. He did what he had to do to win. Against somebody like Derek Lewis, that eventually he's just going to start throwing haymakers at your ass, and very skilled haymakers, not just like winging punches. I think Gane's going to sleep. What do you think about the whole situation?
Dude, I'm not even looking forward to this fight. I don't really care. It's BS, man. All
right, everybody, click off the channel. Brandon's done talking.
Exactly. It's the UFC doing stupid stuff as usual. Like, Francis Ngannou just won that belt 3 months ago. 3 months ago. He told them, or his management told them, hey, we can't do this because he went on vacation, wasn't coming back till June. And to expect the guy to fight 4 weeks later after he gets off of vacation is insane. They all agreed September. They signed it. The agreement was there. And now they're like, no, we're just going to do an interim title. Why? Because your girl, Amanda Nunes, and Pena don't got the pay-per-view juice. So they want to try to put a heavyweight title fight and put Derek Lewis in Houston.
Time out.
No, I don't know, man. No, don't put it out like that. No,
I told
you
Pena doesn't even deserve the title shot. Come on now.
Hey, man. But I'm just saying, but it's so dumb. So then the thing's all right. They want to do an interim title fight for that. But wait, what about Aljamain Sterling? He won the belt in March. He straight up is getting neck surgery done. He said that he probably won't be ready to fight in October. So that's 6 months from March. They're okay with that. No interim title for the bantamweight title. But Francis Ngannou said, I'll come back in September. That's 5 months. He's coming soon. He'll come back sooner than Aljamain Sterling. But they give him but they do an interim title fight for the heavyweight belt. Makes no sense. Like you said, it's just because they know that pay-per-view with Nunes isn't going to sell. So they need to put another title on there. Now, I'm all for it. Hey,
no, that card is stacked.
I mean, I'm just
saying.
It's
not like big names, but that card is stacked.
Nah, I'm just saying, man, kudos to Gane, Lewis. Hey, interim title, it gives you more money. You get pay-per-view points. I'm all about fighters getting more cash. But the thing is, though, just the interim title thing is just dumb, man. The UFC just being done with it, man. It's just because they know that pay-per-view probably is going to sell. They think that another title fight will sell it. Plus, to have Derek Lewis in Houston, of course, they're going to be like, yo, it's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a sellout for him. But the things like the champ tells you, hey, I can do it in September. Apparently, they sign it. Everything is good. And then they say, nah, you know what? We're just going to do an interim title anyway. When you got the bantamweight champ who's going to be out till at least October, but no but no interim title for that is dumb. Why? No different.
Yeah, I'm losing a lot of respect for Sterling, but that's a whole different subject. You know, he won the title questionably, and then was awarded the title. And then, you know, now he's like, oh, yeah, I've had this neck injury for years. Let's go ahead and get it taken care of now when everybody's waiting for this rematch. But that's a different situation. Ngannou, well, from what I understand, Ngannou Lewis was targeted always for August 7th. And for whatever reason, and you said his vacation and some other stuff, but Ngannou was like, I'm not going to be ready. I want to fight in September or later. Now, there has been rumblings of, especially since John Jones changed his management, of maybe him changing his mind and making things more agreeable. There is some backstage rumblings that maybe sometime in September or October we could get Ngannou Jones. So that's another reason why this might have happened, because they don't want to say, because Derek Lewis is like, he was promised the title shot at this point. He's like, I agreed to it. Give me the title. I've earned it. And he has earned it. Ever since that loss to Cormier, he's fought his way back. He's earned it. Ciryl Gane, I don't know if he's earned it, but there's just not a lot of heavyweights lined up behind him that are coming off wins. Blades is coming off a loss. Volkov now a loss. Rosenstrike, you know, lost to some of these guys already. So he's next. But this is the fight to make. I think it's just a matter. The only reason I think it's interim is because they were like, look, Derek, you're not going to get the Ngannou fight, so we'll give you this as like, all right, just to keep you happy.
Nah, man, he was going to get the Ngannou fight in September.
But that's what I'm saying. I think there's more to this than anybody's letting on. I think that Ngannou set up the fight, either Stipe for the trilogy or John Jones in the fall at some point. And they just haven't been able to put ink to paper to announce it. Because especially with John Jones, we all know if you think you know, you don't know, because he can change the question instantly. So, all right, let's not get too sidetracked. Let's talk about the rest of this card. Ciryl Gane with a really good win. We were both wrong in the co-main event too. We had a bad Saturday. We both picked OSP. Tanner Boser took care of business, got the knockout. We never know what to expect from either one of these guys. And at times in this same fight, we didn't know what to expect. Both look good, both look bad. Dia and Tanner Boser caught St. Peru, put him down. What you think of this fight?
Oh, man, yeah, it's just like you said, man, like the first round, OSP did nothing. He just walked around. Like, I mean, the commentator team was trying to say that, oh, he was kind of reading them. He was trying to see what's going on. But that's really OSP's thing, man. He is a slow starter. But, I mean, this man, he was, like, really slow. Like, I felt like he didn't really throw anything in the first round, maybe, like, one or two punches, maybe if you threw anything. And then it was just, yeah, like, it just Tanner Boser knew. He was like, yo, if I lose this fight, I'm probably going to get cut. He wasn't trying to get cut. That's why he just went out there and just did his thing.
And for his part, Tanner Boser let OSP walk around the first round. Same thing he did with Arlovsky. He like showed him too much respect. This case, in the second round, he did catch him and got him put to sleep. I mean, St. Peru looked a little better in the second round, but we just don't know what to expect from this guy this time. You know, and you hate when I say this, but he's getting older too. He's like 37, 38. Maybe St. Peru doesn't want to do this anymore. I mean, you never know. He hasn't looked that great in his last few fights. Yeah. He's had a couple good moments. He had the knockout over who was it? Menefield, but he got knocked out by Hill. He got knocked out by Boser. He got the split decision loss against Rothwell when he tried to come up to heavyweight before. He had a couple wins in there, but he also had a couple losses before that. So, you know, at this point in his career, 38 years old, you know, he got a late start to the sport anyway. I think he was like almost 29 or 30 when he started. So, and he's fought 41 fights in that time period. I remember a couple years ago, if you needed a fight on short notice, OSP was that guy. He stepped in against everybody. So definitely, you know, he's put in the work. He's earned it. But I think at this point, OSP probably is out of headline fights. We'll see what's next for him, though. If the UFC needs somebody, you know he always steps up. So my fight pick, I'm pissed about. Because once again, your guy got a no contest or somebody didn't get the fight. But, man, Feely was winning the fight. He was dominating Pineda. This is one of the best performances I've seen Andre Feely put on. And unfortunate eye poke. It wasn't intentional. From what I understand, Feely was, like, putting his chest and, like, his hand slipped off the blood on his chest and went right up to his eye. And it actually kind of happened twice so fast. It went boop, boop, and just got deep in Pineda's eye. His eyes shut. I give Pineda all the credit in the world. He knew he was losing that fight. He said after the fight he was kicking my ass. He kept trying to fight. He didn't want to quit. It was the doctor and Herb Dean that looked out for the fighter, protected the fighter. He was trying to lie about how many numbers he saw. He was like, how many? He's like, 3? No, there's only one. And he kept trying. Like, wipe the blood out of my eye. Let me try again. So, yeah, shout out to Pineda for his toughness. Andre Fili definitely got robbed of a win. Hopefully they either run it back or kind of treat it like a win and give Fili a better matchup, another like top guy. But great performance by Fili up until the unfortunate eye poke that kind of ended everything. A couple other things to talk about. You want to go ahead and talk about your boy Charles Rosa, Justin James, split decision win for your boy.
Hey, man, thank you, Charles Rosa, for helping me with my picks. I feel bad for Justin James, man, to bet his whole fight purse on himself, going home with $0. I mean, yeah, it was a good fight. I mean, Justin James came out, like I said, he knew that, if he probably doesn't win this fight, either one, he probably will get cut, but two, he's not going to come home with any money. But I mean, he went out there, tried to do his thing, but I just thought Rosa, Charles Rosa, he just did more. I mean, James definitely did have his moments, but just Rosa, man, to me, just the veteran, more experience, a little bit savvy. He just looked good.
Another shout out. So first of all, Dan also got his pick right. He's not on here to talk about his fight. He picked Renato Canero over Jai Herbert. He got the rear naked choke. So congrats on that pick as well. But Kennedy, and I always mess up his name, and Chekwu once again impressed me. Like, he was patient, took him to the third round, got the TKO over Marcus. But his patience, his ability to just kind of wait for his moment and take all kinds of damage. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't get hurt. And he just, like, calm, patient. He stays active. He looks for his moments. It's not like OSP starting slow. He's actually trying, but he's not, like, impatient. He doesn't rush. And 2 times in a row, that's paid off for a late knockout for him. So congrats to Kennedy on that one. Tim Means, unfortunately, made Tim lose his pick. He just dominated Nicholas Dalby. I said this during the fight, and I don't know if this is just Dalby being in so many fights, getting up there in age, but Dalby looked like he was fighting in slow motion. Like, Tim Means is about the same age as him, maybe a year younger, and Tim Means was just 1,000 times faster than Dalby. Also, Dalby would do a lot of winging punches where Tim Means would just come straight with the 1-2s and stuff like that. Leg kicks, mixed it up real well. So good performance for Tim Means. Anything else stand out on this card for you? I know the Avila fight with the rear naked choke for the girls.
Yeah, man, ladies always put on the show. They did well. It was saying for an early card, it was a good card. He had some good fights. Saying afternoon fights are always weird too. Like saying that's why sometimes you got to think about, man, could that maybe have played a factor for some of the fighters? Because remember, they were out in Vegas. So maybe that time frame, it could have had some people off. Especially I was thinking about that with Volkov. Maybe he just wasn't used to the time. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's like a 12-hour difference.
Yeah. But then you could say the same thing about Gane too. Coming from France and everything like that.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah.
But actually too, I remember I think somebody was saying that they maybe did this time for the European fans. So this way, because for them, I know on Twitter they were saying like, oh yeah, they were saying like, oh, this is prime time for us. So you got France and Russia, so maybe it helped those fans out.
Yeah, that would have been that makes sense because the heavyweight or because the main event, both guys being over in that time area. Like I think Russia was in maybe one time zone away, but still probably been like 9-10 o'clock for them.
Yep.
Or maybe like 11, I guess. But I'm not a scientist. I don't know about that stuff. I talk about fights. All right, cool. Anything else you want to talk about this card before we move on?
No, man, that's it.
All right. A couple quick shout outs before we move on and finish this show up today. Like I said, there's no major cards coming up. I will shout out to Bare Knuckle. They had a couple, more than a couple, quite a few MMA fighters involved in last weekend's Bare Knuckle 18. You saw former UFC fighter Joey Belcher, and he held on to his heavyweight crown. Dominant win against Shoemaker. Hector Lombard against Joe Riggs was almost an adventure. Ended with a weird eye injury, and then the next guy up, who's supposed to be like, do the face off with Lombard. Yeah, he got like literally like within reach of Lombard, and Lombard just like no, and just hit him with a 2-piece and a biscuit. I don't know what Hector Lombard, man. He's been a character all the way back since Bellator, like into UFC and now into bare knuckle. He's definitely a hothead. Thiago Alves, Pitbull Alves, he got TKO win for their middleweight title. By the way, Hector Lombard won their cruiserweight title. I guess they're just giving everybody belts now for winning. I noticed that last time when I saw the Paige Van Zandt, Britton Hart fight, that win and some other people got a belt for winning. So I think they're trying to establish some champions in there. And then Pearl Gonzalez, she made her debut. Girl looked like half her size, but Pearl Gonzalez got the easy win, 50-45. Did not mess up a hair on her body. She's like pretty perfect. I don't even know how to phrase it, but she barely took any damage at all.
I can't remember. What weight was that fight at again?
I don't even know. I really don't know. I haven't seen it listed either. I think it might have been like a catch weight or something like that. But Pearl's always fought like around 135, so I'm guessing it's around there, 125, 115.
Yeah, because that's what she went to strawweight, and then she went to flyweight. But I think the girl she fought at, I think she usually would fight. I think she fought at 125 as well when she did MMA. Maybe
it was around there. I haven't heard, but I mean, I've seen Pearl bounce in different weights, and she also looked like she put a little bit of muscle on too. So she could even have gotten a little bigger, maybe 125, 135. I'd have to actually go back and look though.
Hanging out in New York now, man. That's where she's living.
Yeah, she's up in Brooklyn. Yeah, I saw that too. But yeah, she changed up her whole game. One of the things about Pearl Gonzalez, I've said this multiple times on the episodes. She has great striking ability for that division. What she doesn't have is the ability to avoid punches. Now, if she's training boxing full time, maybe that kind of comes. But I even saw like in the highlights of her fighting. First of all, the girl was like way shorter than her, so in the reach, Pearl Gonzalez could just stay on the outside with her. Pearl Gonzalez doesn't move her head. Like her head's always on a line. Mm-hmm. Her footwork is fine. Her hands are great. But she just always keeps her head on a line. And if you don't learn a little bit of head movement, I mean, I'm not Rashard Evans' biggest fan, but one of the things he always used to preach back in the day, head movement. Your head's never in the same spot. That's something, especially when you're going to boxing, you definitely need to know. So she'll learn, she'll adjust, she'll go from there. Shout out to it. We were going to talk about making picks this week, but I really don't personally know a lot about the card. But CFFC is this weekend, CFFC 98. Brandon, you want to say anything about that? I know your teammate's fighting as well.
Yeah, man. It's July 3rd. Solomon Renfro is back in the cage again. It's gonna be out in Philly again. So I'll be rooting for him. We'll be watching. And hopefully he picks up this W. Then hopefully either he will get a title shot. Since I think the champ they're doing a new welterweight title at the end. So maybe he'll be in line next, or maybe he'll move on to the UFC or Bellator after this win.
I mean, I think he does. I think that one loss, was almost a fluke. He got a little bit carried away, got caught. But he has a bright future. We've profiled him on the show before. Solomon has a very bright future. He's definitely one of the next big stars to come out of Cage Fury. Those guys always put out stars. So Lise Reed, we just talked about her not too long ago with her great performance. She's now going to be stepping up and fighting in the UFC pretty soon. So she's got the call up. So
moving up to another weight class too.
Yeah. Fighting Sarge Eubanks, which is not an easy matchup. I personally think Elise needed 1 or 2 more wins in CFFC, a little bit more experience. I think she's only got like 4 wins, 4 fights.
Yeah, I think so. 4 or 5 fights.
Yeah, so I think she needed a couple more. You see a lot of these girls because the divisions they didn't used to be that deep, right? So 4 or 5 fights, you could be fighting on main cards. Nowadays, the divisions are a little deeper. I would have liked to seen her get a little bit more experience before she stepped into the cage with somebody who's a lot bigger, a lot stronger. Elise Reed's got a lot of skill but we'll see how she deals with the size of Sarge Eubanks. So Saraja Eubanks, that's one of Ryan Cafaro's girls. So she's always going to bring it. Before we get out of here, real quick, one last shout out. Save 15% site-wide. Use the promo code Grand Opening. FightersFirst.shop is the brand new domain for all of our clothing. Art of MMA is still there. ArtofMMA.com. I changed it back to it's all about the podcast, the interviews, the show. It's all content. Same with all of our social media. Go to FightersFirst.shop. All the links will be in the show notes. FightersFirst.shop on Instagram as well. It's Fighters First on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just / Fighters First. Find it nice and easy. We have a network. Like I said, we're expanding, including all combat sports now. MMA is our core. It is our base. It's not going anywhere. Cage My IQ is an MMA show. Talking about bringing on some other shows as well. But MMA is our core, first and foremost. We're expanding our shop. Like you said, like I showed you, the new Muhammad Ali shirts in the shop. You can't have legendary combat sports without talking about the GOAT. I try to use a little bit different imaging that you don't really see anywhere. Obviously, a great inspirational quote on the back as well from Muhammad Ali. So check that out. It's on the page right now. Save 15%. Brandon, you got anything else to add before we take off today?
Hey guys, just make sure, remember, like, subscribe, comment on the YouTube channel, and share it, man. Let your friends, let your family know if they're a fan of combat sports. Let them know Fighter First Network is the place to be.
I thought you were going to say something else. You want to let people know on another thing that's coming soon?
Nah,
you want to keep it a secret?
Yeah, we're still working on it.
All right. I'm going to give y'all a little hint. He don't want to say it, but there might be some mechanic merchandise popping up soon. We talked about it before anyway. So we're working on it. We're going to come up with some cool designs that Brandon likes, and we're going to put them in the shop so we can help support the mechanic and support this show and support me and support everybody that's putting in this hard work, because I hate to, put out an advertisement basically, but, we are giving this show to you for free. We are working our asses off, putting in the work, putting in the research. Go over to Cage My IQ. Dan's doing the same thing. We're trying to grow as a network together, bringing in other shows, give you a more well-rounded product, not just one point of view, but multiple point of views, sometimes even on the same subject. But we give you lots of great quality, great quantity. So go to FightersFirst.shop. That's a way you can kind of get some really dope merchandise. I hope you enjoy all that stuff. Definitely leave the feedback for me. Leave the reviews. Let me know what you think about everything on social media, on the website itself. And then we also do have all the content for all the shows on Fighters First as well. So you don't have to go to Art of MMA if you don't want to. You don't have to go to Cage My IQ, whatever. You can get it all right there on FightersFirst.shop as well. So it's a one-stop shop. Ha, see what I did there? See the pun? No, Brandon doesn't laugh at anything I say. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this week. I am Mike Inn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Catino. Make sure you check out the website. Make sure you leave some feedback in our comments below. We're pushing the network a lot. We're trying to grow. So this is Art of MMA, and we're out.